While Segerblom's work has appeared in every respected magazine, from Life to National Geographic, this collection of his photographs in one location is a first, according to exhibit curator Mike Spiewak.
From our understanding and talking with the family is that there's never been a full-on photography-only exhibit.
Perhaps because later in his career, Cliff became more famous for his paintings, but his wife Jean believes his interest in art began at an early age.
He started painting when he was about 3, he said, but he never took art.
Until he went to the University of Nevada at Reno on a football scholarship where he became an art major and also practiced his craft to put food, among other things, on the table.
He painted a lot of things in bars around town in Reno, and then we'd go and get a free drink. Because nobody made money as an artist.
Although Cliff's talent turned out to be a surprising qualification for a Depression-era job.
My sister lived here in Boulder City, and her husband took him up to meet the head of the Bureau of Reclamation, because the photographer was going to another dam. So he said, "What do you know about photography?" And he said, "I don't know a thing. I've never had a camera in my hand." But he says, "You're an artist, aren't you?" And he said, "We can teach you photography." They had a nice dark room up here at the Bureau of Reclamation building. So he really learned to take pictures from them.
It was steady but sometimes mundane work that he referred to as doing public relations photography for the government.
At first he just did people that came to work here, and he took their photographs and gave them. But then when people, very important people, came to see the dam, he got to go with them and take pictures.
But in the case of one celebrated picture that is now in the collection of New York City's Museum of Modern Art, he kept his distance from a group of traveling dignitaries in order to give them a most extraordinary backdrop.
And the important people from Washington, D.C. got on that little raft. It was just a raft, and they took them out across where the dam is and then let them down, and then they went over and got off. Well, he said, "I don't care to do that. I've done it a million times. So I'll stay up here on the bridge that you drive across to go to Arizona. I'll stay here and take a photograph." And it was the best thing that ever happened. He became so important from that.
His work at Hoover Dam also brought him into contact with visiting photographers like Margaret Burke White and Ansel Adams, whose epic images of human industry and the natural landscape, and sometimes both together, would influence picture after picture of Cliff's favorite subject.
We went on trips all over Nevada because I knew Nevada, and we went to every little town to preserve it, because that really bothered him, that people let these little towns all sink and moved away, and he thought they were great.
Cliff's pictures were sought after by publications all over the country, but were particularly prized at home.
Nevada magazine would always call up and say, "We need a picture, a photo, like of Boulder City, we need a story." And they'd offer us to buy the story before we did it. They looked at the prints, not at my writing. And then if the prints were good, the writing came out fine.
But Cliff and Jean were equals in every other way, and for almost half a century of marriage, they were quite a match.
It's amazing to hear the stories that Jean will tell in terms of how many hours it took this photograph to get set up just right. So I had to sit there at the very edge of the edge of the cliff, looking out over Hoover Dam.
Turn your head a little more. Look up. No, turn it back. Oh, well, bring it down. And so finally I thought, I'll just dive into the lake. I've had enough of this funny business.
While this exhibit includes some of Cliff's classic Las Vegas photographs, there are also unconventional images that seem even more compelling.
There's images we've got of the skyline of Las Vegas in the late 70s that you look at it now and it's nothing you would recognize if you came here today. So they're great record keeping as well as being great photographs.
Which show that as a working photographer and a teacher, he had an eye for the styles of his times and in some respects saw beyond them.
It is very apparent that he is watching what is happening in the world of photography. And there's a big movement in terms of capturing kind of man's impact to the natural environment. So there's a lot of contemporary photographers that are doing these same things.
And that makes this exhibit especially relevant today, in a state that has changed in so many ways and yet still remains the same thanks to Cliff's vision.
Plans right now are to actually be able to have this exhibit travel to other state museums and locations around the state, so that people all over the state kind of get a chance to see these great gems that Cliff's kind of taken for us.
He would be delighted that anybody even wanted to see them.